today, over the weekend, Ruth Bader Ginsburg has passed and mass chaos has broken out because it's 2020. Also, the CDC changes their guidance on coronavirus and how it is transmitted because it's 2020. We've got a lot to get into, and it starts right now. Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez, today joined by two of my favorite gentlemen. We have Elijah Shaffer, host of Slightly Offensive, which is actually way more than slightly offensive, but amazing. You got to catch it on BlazeTV.
Yeah, you also call me a gentleman, which is, no one's called me that since I was born.
Well, I use the term very loosely.
Yeah, I was like, that's a really,
and he's here.
They said your show is fake news, and now I know why.
Also joined by my new actual favorite, not him, but Eric July, BlazeTV contributor, also known as Young Rip of 5'9".
There it is.
Yeah, that's right. If you want to catch him on YouTube,
there you go.
That's his name. All right, we've obviously got a lot to get into. So really quickly, I was really hoping not to be here because I was really hoping that I was going to have a baby over the weekend, and that didn't happen. But then we learned of Ruth Bader Ginsburg's passing. She was 87 years old, had been in poor health for a while, was the greatest warrior of all time, surviving all cancer, and it was she just had, I think, more lives than a cat. But then learned that she passed, and then was like, okay, I guess it's kind of good that I did not have a baby this weekend because we've got a lot to talk about. Yeah. Mass chaos, obviously, after Ruth Bader Ginsburg's passing. This happened Friday evening. Let's go ahead and try to take it in chronological order here with President Trump, who was holding a rally on Friday and was told the news of Ruth Bader Ginsburg's passing. Just kind of what I believe, I'll get your thoughts, gentlemen, an iconic moment, I think, that will really go down in history. Here is President Trump right after learning of Ruth Bader Ginsburg's passing.
Yeah. She just died? Wow. I didn't know that. You're telling me now for the first time. She led an amazing life. What else can you say? She was an amazing woman. Whether you agreed or not, she was an amazing woman who led an amazing life. Actually sad to hear that. I am sad to hear that. Thank you very much.
Now, I mean, just with the music and the background, yeah. Elton John, it gives me goosebumps just to watch. Whether or not you believe that he really learned it for the first time at that moment, is purely speculative. But it seemed like it to me. That seemed like a very genuine and also classy reaction by the president to just take a moment and say, you know what, regardless of her politics, she was a woman to be respected. And I'm very sad to hear that. Elijah, what are your thoughts? Yeah,
I mean, number one, I'm always waiting for Trump to behave the way that the media says that he's going to behave. I'm waiting for him to just come out, be a racist, a xenophobe, a sexist. And this was his perfect opportunity to just come out and let the whole world know I am a bigot. But it turns out, again, I keep finding that the narrative is kind of off because every single time that I'm waiting for that, he comes across like an absolute gentleman. There you go. Not me. He's the gentleman. and no, it really is true. And I think there was no better way to approach this. I think the journalist probably was telling him to bait him. Yeah. In that moment, hey, how about this? What do you think? Ready for some crazy moment. And then, of course, very classy president, he gives an answer I don't even think a scriptwriter could have written for him. Yeah.
Amen. Eric?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was clearly what they want. They want to sort of get that out of him, mm-hmm. and he didn't give it to him. He didn't give you even saw him take a second to even and he said what he had to say, and it was, pretty straightforward. It wasn't anything controversial or anything, but of course that's what people anticipated. Certainly, when you consider politically what side of the aisle, or in terms of how she votes and what side of the aisle that she comes from, they anticipated that. And of course, if he would have given them, just a slight bit of something to cling on to, they would have went all in, but he didn't give them anything.
Yeah.
So to his credit, he said some, very nice things upon initially learning about it. And he was like, this is what I'm going to have to say about it. And I'm good to go. And then, he gets back to business, and he was better than I would be in a situation like that, because
he was a tweet. He was a perfectly crafted tweet. That's what I'm gonna say. It's like he sat there and got his 160 characters or whatever down, and the way that he answered was so strategic. But the music, you couldn't. That almost seemed planned.
I know, and that's why I feel like it was just one of those iconic. Like it was way too. It seemed way too rehearsed to be real. It looked like it was from a movie. You had the Elton John playing in the background. You had, him just getting off the stage.
It was like a Hallmark movie right there. Really.
Yeah.
Like I was like, all right, and cue Elton John, and all right, and say the lines, and go Donald, and then he was perfect.
Yeah, it was. I hope people look back on that, and that is one of the iconic moments from President Trump's presidency, and not the tweets that everyone likes to talk about.
I love his tweets.
The controversial tweets.
I love his controversial tweets.
I'm not saying I hate them, but
I love them. Keep them coming, Donald.
So obviously, once this news surfaces, the conversation in Washington now becomes, what happens to the seat? Do we fill it? Do we not? I know that there is a back and forth, because crazily enough, so surprisingly, the Democrats have the exact same position they did, the exact opposite position they did in 2016, and the Republicans also have the exact opposite position they did in 2016 when we were talking about Merrick Garland, when Merrick Garland came up. So now all the Democrats say you have to wait until a new president is elected. And now all of the Republicans are saying, you don't know, that's not true. We never said that. I believe that there is a little bit more precedent for the Republicans to say, well, actually, it was a completely different set of circumstances. The Senate and the White House were different parties at that time, and so that was a different precedent. Now you've got the Senate and the White House. We are obviously the same party. That's a completely different ballgame. And historically, that has always been a completely different ballgame. What are your thoughts on that, Elijah, on whether or not the seat should be filled? Should this even be a discussion?
Oh, look, this is not even the same year as 2016. The Democrats have instigated, promoted the burning down of our cities. They have absolutely criminalized what it means to just be a pro-America, nationalistic individual. They've made us feel like we are enemies of the country because we love our flag, because we stand for our anthem. They have come in across the board and co-sponsored domestic terrorist groups like Antifa. This is not a matter, we're not in the same position of having some sort of like parlay and some ability to come together and create a little battle here. It's like, no, we got to go right for the throat. We've got to stick everything we can to them, because that's possible. Because to be quite honest, there were times for negotiations, times for compromise. Those times are completely over. They have held nothing back recently, nothing back in attacking us, in slandering us, in destroying us, and ripping apart every institution in America. And it's like, no. We're going to stack the court, and we're going to change American history forever. We've had a liberal court for too many decades. Even when it leaned conservative, it's been too liberal. And we saw that's destroyed the interpretation of what the Constitution was meant for. So it's about time we reverse history. We actually take the country back to where it was meant to be. And it's like, I have no sympathy for them. Let's just cut it right at the throat. Literally, let's go right to it.
Eric.
Well, they're not going to play fair anyway. I feel like this whole lockdown thing should have proved that they don't have any issue of doing the opposite, even if they have lectured you. Even surrounding Ruth, with them linking up and having all of these hundreds of people gathering in front of the Supreme Court. And in those same areas, people can't go to the funerals of their own families and link up. So,
and also we can't vote in person.
Exactly. So, look, my issue, of course, comes from the standpoint of this sort of religious worship of these seats and of these positions and people being in these positions. I know Ron Paul spoke about this 4 years ago and how we look to that position, and it doesn't make any sense why the Supreme Court is even as powerful as they are anyway. A lot of things that they're being able to determine, it shouldn't even be up for dispute, as it's not their right to actually make those decisions. So what happens is when something like that happens, seat frees up, everybody gets to freaking out because they think that, of course, their guy should be the one that's in it in the event that someone else gets in it. then we have so many issues. This year has been just big tug of war with power, and it's so frustrating from a libertarian perspective to see all of that, because I'm like, why are we, so everybody's arguing, like, and I know people talk about division. I don't care about division. If you guys are unified and got the wrong position, you're worse, actually. Yeah. You're worse. So the division doesn't bother me. What bothers me is that we have positions like that, and which are so uber powerful, in which they can make decisions on social issues and all sorts of things. And it's so powerful, in the event that the wrong person gets it, well, we freak out, and rightfully so. We freak out because they have the power, and we don't even have those conversations. They're never having those conversations. Like maybe this isn't working. Maybe this isn't what it was even crafted to even be. They were never. Supreme Court was never even supposed to be that powerful, but yet it is. So until we have that conversation, doesn't matter whether Supreme Court justices or presidencies or anything like that. As long as people continue to disregard the fact that the power exists and it shouldn't be there. If anything, you think this whole virus thing would have showed you how powerful some of these positions are, and they shouldn't even be that powerful. They weren't even crafted to be that powerful. Until we have that conversation, it's going to be a madhouse every time one of those positions get freed up, and then you're going to have people bawling their eyes out over people that they've never met.
Yeah, Elijah, we have, like Eric said, people who are bawling their eyes out over people that they've never met. It is bizarre to me, and I don't say this to demean the life of Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Her family crying makes sense.
Correct, right.
Yeah.
But I mean, the videos that we've seen that have surfaced online of people actually just like losing their ever-loving mind over this. And I'm like,
bizarre.
This to me, now Eric, I'd love for you to chime in as well, because I think we have different perspectives on religion here at the table. But this to me is a great example of people who, instead of having a religion, politics is their religion, politics is their God. And it's so unhealthy that they have taken this in, and they're so emotional about someone losing their life that they've never met before, that they would go to that extreme. It just doesn't feel like a healthy thing for society to me.
It really is. I was actually in Washington, D.C. when the news struck that she died, and I had to make a key decision right then whether to keep going up to Philadelphia to cover some Antifa rioting the next day, or if I needed to go back to there. And I realized, look, I don't need to go there because that's an actual vigil. Those are people who feel like their own mom died. They're unhinged. I'm not going to get in the way. Like, that's really what I felt. I'm not going to go there, talk to these people, interview them, because these people are so attached to this person that it's like going into somebody's funeral for their mom and trying to talk to them. Like, you just don't get involved in that. It's that serious, where people feel like their own family member died. And you have to ask yourself, well, why does it happen, or why is it unhealthy? But at the riot the next day, or before the rioting started, you see this religious hierarchy where the guy comes up on the microphone, always a black person, if a black trans person isn't available, because they always say black trans people to the front, right? So you have this like weird hierarchy of minorities, and they go through their martyrs, right? They have their martyrs. Daniel Prude, say his name. Daniel Prude, who died a week after being naked, high on PCP with a spit bag over his head and assaulting police officers. I don't know why they always choose some of the most questionable choices of martyrs. But then you get to these politicians, and then it's like, we need to take a moment of silence, which is of respect in a country, right, for this person. But what I noticed was nobody mentioned a single accomplishment of RBG. Nobody.
They don't know it.
That's what I'm saying. Nobody knew.
Correct.
So that's where it's religious and emotional. And I noticed that with the far left, or with liberals, or with these radicals, is that people always say, like, even with the masks, aren't we all in this together? Some lady yelled at my wife for not having her nose covered. Aren't we? It's like, not like, hey, the mask, you got to save lives. Hey, the mask, prevents disease from spreading. It's just the emotional pull of, we're in this, and our leaders and our martyrs, and there's this entire caste system of people, and they are not really built on any foundation of truth. It's all about emotion and gripping and feeling, and no one even really, you've asked people what the Supreme Court, even a ruling of the Supreme Court in the last year, I don't think, besides maybe like legalizing gay marriage, anyone even knows what they've done.
Yeah, that's a great point, Eric.
Look, my band Backwards has a song called Stathiest. And what I do in that song is I'm discussing how these folks that tend to be, by all research purposes, generally atheists tend to be leftists, right? And how they have only swapped out God with the state.
Right.
And more so, the state is their God. They're not anti-religious. They can rag on us for being Christians, Muslims, whatever you, Jewish, whatever you are, but they're not anti-religious. They absolutely are religious. Their religious cling is just to the state. And it's a real sad state of affairs that people get like that and get over emotional about people they never met, people that they were just told to get upset over. And that is a bizarre thing to happen. I can imagine being where you're at and seeing it play out. I would probably think I'm in another dimension because it's like, am I the only one that's normal around here? That these guys are acting like this, again, for a person that they've never met. They can't really say her accomplishment aside that she's just heralded by way of the leftists, and she's a woman that happens to be in the Supreme Court. It is a bizarre thing, but I like that it's happening because I get to point it out and say to all of these folks that, and I don't hate atheists or agnostic folks or anything like that. What I'm saying is that a lot of you guys have religious clings to things, though you would think we're crazy for believing in Jesus Christ or something of that nature, yet they're the ones that are bawling their eyes out. Worshiping. I mean, they had all of these vigils. It was weird.
It was like worship, like you'd see like almost kind of like a Catholic vigil for Mary or something.
It was weird.
They light candles and it's, you know, a lot of people can't even say her name correctly. You know, people call her like RGB.
RGB.
Color spectrum. You know, which is like fine. But like, that's my final point here is that it is so interesting though that this religious. These religious zealots are out there and they're preaching to people because there is that void, like you mentioned. And what you've seen is that, you know, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And I think that people have a void inside of them and they need something to feel valuable. But when you watch them, like I watched multiple street preachers get attacked in the last week. I haven't been home in like 10 days. I'm very tired. And what I've gotten from all of this is that it's not that these people are just Americans. They're anti-American. They live in a different country. They live in a different reality. But what they are is they're like conquistadors. They're on a conquest. They're actually working to establish sort of a religious nation of people who and they determine what's right and wrong. They tell you this is right, that's wrong, this is good, that's bad. And it's like, meanwhile, they are against capitalism, they're against the Constitution, they're against Christianity, but they actually are replacing it with their own form of every one of these things. It's just interesting.
Yes, yeah. And you know what? Let's get into more of that after the break. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Home Title Lock. So, we talk about this a lot on the show. You think that your home is safe when you leave it because you set your alarm system and then you leave your house and you're like, well, if anyone's going to steal my home, anything in it, I'll obviously get a notification from my alarm system. The police will come. Everything will be taken care of. Not so if you're talking about your home's legal title, because all of our titles to our homes, they're kept online now. And this is one of the fastest growing crimes in the country. By the way, if you haven't heard of it, it's called home title theft. It's happening all the time. Cyber criminals find the title to your home online. They forge your signature on a quitclaim deed, and then they can refile as the new owner of your home. You're off the title. You've lost all your equity that you have put into your home, which oftentimes is, your retirement nest egg. Yeah. So you may be thinking at this point, oh, well, I probably like my identity theft program or, my banking program, probably it has something that covers that. No, actually, common identity theft and banking programs have nothing to cover this. You're not going to know it usually until it's too late. You might get a late payment or a foreclosure notice. Don't let this happen to you. You can go to HomeTitleLock.com. They will protect your home's title. They will put a virtual barrier around it. And most importantly, you can go there and register your address to see if you're already a victim. You got to catch it before it's too late. Like I said, they will help you do that if you go to HomeTitleLock.com. Use promo code WHY, that's WHY. You will get 30 free days of protection to help you manage this crisis. All you have to do is go to HomeTitleLock.com. Use promo code WHY, HomeTitleLock.com. I want to kind of get into a little bit more of what you were talking about, Elijah, which is, well, Eric, you referenced it as well, but this weird, politics being the left's religion and the way that they're reacting to this. You saw a lot of left-leaning, I guess you could call them mainstream media people, but I don't know. They have blue check marks on Twitter. I can't speak for the credibility that they have in real life. But, threatening to burn things down, to burn the system down, to riot, if we try to do something that in the Constitution you're supposed to be able to do. And it's like, so maybe you guys have been overplaying your hand for the last couple months because you've already been rioting and burning buildings down. So why are we supposed to now be concerned that you're going to do the same thing that you have been doing for like the last several months over literally everything that happens? I'm failing to see what is supposed to be getting me over to your side of things.
Yeah, no,
right?
they will burn it down, and they've shown that, and that's what's interesting to me is how they show how much they are like, if we don't get our way, it must come down.
Yeah.
Right? Again.
Which is something that my 8-year-old, a concept
right,
that my 8-year-old
that's why I call
has
them
already learned.
Yeah, that's why I call
already
them,
learned.
Like, they don't even, like toddlers are actually smarter than them in a sense, because they look at it like, okay, the power is fine as it exists. In fact, they want more of it. You know, they have no problem, more of it, more taxation, more fun this big monster. But if you guys get control of that, it's an absolute problem. Right. So we have to, if you even attempt to do that, because they look at that as their righteous, holy position that they get, and then they get to rule over you. This is why everybody keeps referring back to this popular vote, right? Because they're still hanging on to that, saying, well, it's going to show that our democracy, let's say our democracy, I always talk about democracy being the God that failed. And the fact they look at it like that is an absolute problem.
Yeah.
But it allows us to be more precise, and I think libertarians do it. I don't think even people on the other side do it. When we talk about who's going to act up, dependent on the results, let's be clear, it's the leftists.
Yeah.
It's not coming from the other side. Even if Joe Biden wins, I can almost guarantee you that there'll be some people that are frustrated. But you're not going to see them going to burn down a Wendy's or something like that. That's not going to be what people are going to do.
They
that
own
on
the
opposite
Wendy's.
side. Yeah, generally they
Or they're a manager at Wendy's.
They work there.
They work their way up. Yeah,
exactly. But it allows us to be precise, and that's what I want people to understand and look at it from that perspective. Yeah. When you look at folks that are certainly willing to inconvenience you or destroy your property, for that matter. Even if the situation had nothing to do with you, it's coming from that side. So let's be precise. I know everybody's talking about when the election gets it's going to be crazy. No, we know it's going to get crazy. Let's talk about who it's coming from, and let's place that on them. This is what these Democrats definitely try to use them as useful idiots. It's the Frankenstein monster that they let get way too big, and now it's out of control. And because they painted themselves in a corner, they have to commit to that. So they'll pretend they still got people acting like Antifa's I don't know, a myth or something like that. They act like it's not even a thing, right? Because they even on their side, they're starting to see how insane that these people are. So let's just be precise with it and understand that the craziness is coming from that side.
Yeah, I just want to read some of these tweets from verified people, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please.
Scott Ross used the F word, classy, and then said, if you can't shut it down, burn it down. Another account called No Justice, No Peace says the time has come to burn all this down. We've talked about it, but we've got to pony up now. Emmett McFarland said, burn Congress down before letting Trump try to appoint anyone to SCOTUS. There's a few more. Laura Bassett said, if McConnell jams someone through, which he will, there will be riots. Bo Williman said, we're shutting this country down if Trump and McConnell try to ram through an appointment before the election. And my favorite, Reza Aslan, a disgraced journalist, said, if they even try to replace RBG, we'll burn the entire effing, and use the expletive, thing down. I mean, and that's not, this is why it's not just one person. There's always that one crazy person that just, they get their account suspended because they're crazy. And I know people say, well, this is just Twitter, and Twitter isn't real life. But I have seen, shockingly, the rhetoric on Twitter that people keep saying isn't real life translate into the real world. And people don't realize—
They're out there on the ground.
Well, yeah, people don't realize that the left uses Twitter like a Bible, right? And they follow it, what people are saying, like it's gospel. And I think it's really an interesting thing that, even myself, like how do people always find me or try to do bad things to me? They do it through Twitter. They have chat rooms and logs. These people are very foolish. They're not using encrypted chat rooms. I'm glad they don't, because it makes my job easier to figure out where they're going to be and what they're doing. But what's very interesting is that when these are people who are calling for actual violence, it doesn't surprise us. I'm just glad I'm actually happy they're writing this, because I'm like, well, at least finally admitting that this was a mainstream thing. Like I kept going, like, it's a few bad apples. I'm going, I've come across maybe 20,000 of those bad apples. I'm like, I don't know. It's more, 2 or 3 or 10, 20,000.
That's a root problem.
Right, and I keep pointing out too that's like I saw city council members and people at all of these things. I see state senators. I see people there that are establishment Democrats that are encouraging the violence. They're encouraging the attacks. They're pushing false narratives. And so I'm like, okay, finally for once now I can just say the Democrats actually are calling for riots. They are calling to burn down the cities. And I think that's an important thing that we have the evidence now that we can in court show people, is this who you want in charge of your country? Do you want someone who doesn't get their way, who will burn that down? Is that the threat that you want? Is this what you want, America? Do you want at the Emmys, somebody telling another white person, this is where white people clap, and then just cut them off as if, do you want an America where people are racist and they see racial inequity and they're prideful and arrogant on TV, like we can divide America? No, that's the party of racial divide, of violence, of looting, and I think we can finally see that. It's like, it's an ideological problem. It's not a racial issue. It doesn't matter if you're a black liberal or a white liberal. When you hold these far progressive ideas, you just kind of become an a-hole. And I caught myself again. You kind of become an a-hole, but ultimately speaking, if you see that the Hollywood establishment endorses racism, the media establishment endorses this violence, and then you hear Nancy Pelosi say, yeah, well, she's not drunk. She's just like, oh yeah, we condemn that. You realize in that moment, this is their party. This is what they stand for. And that's why they have to be opposed democratically. That's why we have to vote the right people in, because we can't let their pressure push us out of being civil. We can't let their pressure especially become the party establishment, because if they'll do that to the city now when they're not in power, what will they do not just to the city, but to us, the people in the cities, once they gain that power? And that scares me.
Yeah, Eric, we've got about a minute left here, and I don't disagree with him. And I think I would also add, you don't negotiate with terrorists.
No, I say it all the time. You don't negotiate with terrorists.
President Young, Rip of 59.
I say that all the time. That you don't. It
really can be that simple.
They did not get to their position by way of reason. You cannot reason them out of position that they didn't get to by way of reason. Yeah. So we're wasting time. That's why I get so frustrated with conservatives and this whole lockdown thing. We got the Governor Abbotts of the world and people that are going along with this craziness and this foolishness as the other side gets to do whatever the heck they want and burning things down. That is an issue. I've always said let the chips fall where they may if they're going to act crazy. But what's unfortunately happening is that people are getting penalized in the event that they decide that they want to actually defend themselves. I don't know. Stop these guys from being, I almost used the word, but stop these guys from being bad people. But they don't go that route. Instead, they're trying to play by the rules when the game's rigged, and they're not playing by them either.
Yeah. All right, we've got more to come, and these guys are just a little bit fired up here at the table. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Simply Safe. All right, so I don't know about you, but if you're using a security system that is not Simply Safe, you're probably paying way too much money. I was before I started using Simply Safe, and it has not only cut my bill, I think like more than half, it also has made everything so much easier for me to manage. Simply Safe has everything you need to protect your home with none of the drawbacks of traditional home security. They've got a bunch of sensors. We've got like the same, motion sensors. You've got the window sensors. You've got the glass break sensors. You've got everything that you need to blanket every room, windows, doors, and you can tailor it specifically for your home. So however many you need of each, you can get that many. They've got the cameras, professional monitoring that keeps watch day and night. They're ready to send police, fire, or medical professionals if there is an emergency. It is so easy. I love my husband to death. He's not like the MacGyver that you may think you need to install a home security system. No, you don't need that with Simply Safe. It's super easy. You just peel where the sensors are, the tape, you peel it off, you stick it exactly where you need to go. He did it all himself. No technician required. Also, no contract. Is this sounding like, you're like, well, where's the catch? There is none, all right? It starts at $15 a month. I'm telling you, Simply Safe is amazing. U.S. News and World Report named it the best overall home security of 2020. I would agree with that. You can go to simplysafe.com/why. You will get a free HD camera if you go there. Simplysafe.com/WHY. Get yourself a system, get a free camera to go along with it. You've got the little app that you can use. You can go look at it while you're gone. I do it all the time to check on my cats. Yeah, I said that out loud. Simplysafe.com/why. Get your free camera now. Simplysafe.com/why. Well, with all of this talk about, whether or not President Trump is going to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg, obviously, I know we just heard earlier today that he plans to announce his pick I think he said Friday or Saturday after Ruth Bader Ginsburg's funeral, which I think that's the right thing to do. That is a classy thing to do. And then the Senate can take it up from there. But you may be wondering to yourself, what do the Democrats have up their sleeve to try to prevent President Trump from doing, his job, as they have often tried to prevent him from doing? So here is Nancy Pelosi with George Stephanopoulos from yesterday explaining that, they are going to try some things. They do have some arrows or some quivers or something. I don't know what.
Some have mentioned the possibility, if they try to push through a nominee in a lame duck session, that you and the House could move to impeach President Trump or Attorney General Barr as a way of stalling and preventing the Senate from acting on this nomination.
Well, we have our options. We have arrows in our quiver that I'm not about to discuss right now.
Can I just, what he just said was total BS. He's like, well, some have been saying that, you could try to impeach the guy again. I've heard literally zero people say that until he brought that up.
Ma'am, I know the 250 people by name that work in this industry, but it's like a couple hundred people, and there's not one tweet I could point to or public comment. It's like, oh, somebody's just reading a script. It was given to him from Nancy. They pass him a paper in class from Nancy. It's yo, say this.
Yeah.
And you see her. She was so excited. I have a very bad comparison that I can't say on your show, but she looks like she's about to explode, and she goes, she's literally quivering. Speaking of quiver, she's quivering, very excited. Maybe a little bit delirium tremens right there, but she's.
I think that might be the withdrawal of the vodka.
Yeah, she's going, and she's so excited that she's going to try to cause more chaos in America. That's just weird to me. It's we're going to disrupt the American process. We're just so excited, and it's just wow, that woman's a demon. I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to say it on your show, but she is a demon.
Eric.
Nah, but they're being straightforward. I mean, he even sets up the question to really say, you're doing this to stall.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
absolutely.
He was just 100% open.
Yeah.
He was open with it.
Yeah.
And she's like, we got some stuff on our sleeve. I don't see how anybody can look at that and not think this is a joke, man. This is a complete joke. They're treating it like it's a joke as well. That was bizarre to me, and to hear him the way he acts it and her answer it we're gonna stall as long as we possibly can. I wonder if they do stall, if they somehow are successful. I don't know what arrow she's referring to that she has that
I'm sure she knows what
maybe
arrow
it's
she's
actually
referring to.
literally
I think we
burning
just
it
saw
to the
them.
ground.
I think we just saw the arrows. It was oh, you weren't supposed to say that, sir. That was supposed to be tomorrow's news.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm interested to see if they are successful. How long can they kick that can down the road? In any event that, let's say, Trump won, what then? You know what I mean? It's what you gonna try to wait another 4 years to try to make it happen? I don't know, but the silver lining in all of this is watching politicians tell on themselves they don't care about you. They don't care about what's best for your country, your geographical area. That's not what they care about. It's about specifically playing politics, and she's being wide open with you about it.
I literally see that and I go, this is how we knew that Kavanaugh had nothing to do with him being a rapist. It goes, you haven't even heard who it is. You haven't even heard who it is. There are picks that as an American, you could probably say, look, I know we disagree on some fundamental things, but that's a decent person. That's why with Joe Biden, I'm actually not afraid of Joe Biden. I'm afraid of because Joe Biden is losing his mind that someone else is going to take power. I'm more afraid of that, the people that I don't see. But Joe Biden of himself is just your run-of-the-mill. I know what we're going to get if Joe Biden gets elected. So she can't even say oh yeah, well, here's the three people. Here's why we have a problem with them. This is why we want to get them out. It's just no matter who they are, no matter where they come from, no matter what gender they are. I hope he nominates, I would love it if he nominated a black woman. That would be so much fun. I mean, really, just be throw it out there and be here's a black woman. Now fight against the first black woman nomination or whatever to put her, fully, not first, but just meaning, here we go, Republican right now as the first pick, we're going to throw this person out there and see what they do. And it's do you really care about black people? You really care about women?
That'd be interesting.
Yeah,
it's like see them play that game.
Go ahead and accuse a black woman of being a gang rapist.
Yeah, good luck.
That's what's sad is going, no, that's my point, is that they go, no matter what we've preached, no matter what we've said, we are going to take that person down.
Matter.
And I want to know, I'm just already going to say, that I don't know who they're being accused of raping, but I'm sure they've probably been accused in the future at some point now of raping somebody. I mean, we're going to find this out quickly.
Yeah.
You know,
most definitely, whoever they pick is going to be some sort of. It's going to be something to it. They're going to
yeah.
go maybe, but they're going to go as far as they can down the path. This person, I don't know, chewed bubble gum when they weren't supposed. It's going to be some weird type of thing that they're going to do, and it doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter who it is, and that's why I'm saying
scary.
They're playing. This is all political. This is all a game to them, and whatever they have to do to sort of put up whatever charade that they're putting on. That's what they're going to do. It has nothing to do with you and that's what we talked about this last week on the show, in which I just called them evil because I don't know what else to call them. Like when you have people that do things that are irrational and they know it's irrational, they don't care about it, and then they just do it anyway. That's telling you that these people, that's how they are. I think a lot of folks look to politicians and even doctors and even people that are in positions that they value, that you would think only a person that would care for other people would be in those positions. They act as if they're without corruption. And that's bogus. Yeah. We accept it in any other industry. What you think these people want to do, sometimes you can't make sense of something. Yeah. Sometimes it's not. People look at this logic, it's like, well, why would all of these governors and such do this and that and lock people down and force them to cover that if it wasn't that serious? It's like maybe because they're evil, and maybe they'll play politics, and that's just how some
Why did Hitler do World War II in the Western theater? Like, what people go? Why would Japan invade China in World War II? It's like because those were evil people who did evil things, and it should not shock you that politicians are oftentimes some of the best and some of the worst people in the world, and very often, while I hate to say this, evil people are often very successful because they will use any method and means. I mean, there are ways right now where I could be a wealthier person. I'll say this, I'm not incriminating myself because I didn't act on it. I got insider information on the stock market recently that would have left me a very wealthy person. And I didn't act on it because that's illegal. And I go, I can't believe you're giving me this information. It was in DC. And I'm going, and when I saw the stock jump the next day, it went from under $1 to over $57 a share the next morning. So that's like a 57 time increase on what you would have. And I'm going, if I was evil and I just put $10,000 into that stock, I'd be a very wealthy man. Yeah. But honest people sometimes compromise on getting ahead because we want to do things the right way. But these people, they don't care. And that's why I'm saying we've got to stop. We've got to keep civility and we've got to keep the honesty. But we've honestly and civilly got to fight these people at the throat. And not physically. I'm not promoting violence. I just mean they're willing to do anything. Absolutely. And so we've got to take them seriously and we've got to fight them tooth and nail to make sure they don't succeed because they will if we don't.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of evil, we've got the CDC coming up next. The CDC abruptly has removed guidance about how the coronavirus is being transmitted. I know we're all shocked and appalled. We've got that coming up after the break. Stay tuned.
Shocked and appalled.
I don't even care. Like if you ask me what you think,
my pearls,
I don't even care. Oh, what the CDC said. I don't know. What my ex-girlfriend said.
The CDC today abruptly reverted to its previous guidance about how coronavirus is transmitted. They have now removed the language about airborne transmission that they have just posted just a few days earlier. They said a draft version of proposed changes to these recommendations was posted in error to the agency's official website. CDC is currently updating its recommendations regarding airborne transmission. Once this process has been completed, the update language will be posted. So now they've gone back to, of course, that it is most commonly spread through small particles in the air, mainly between people in close contact, about 6 feet, and through respiratory droplets produced when an infected person coughs, sneezes, or talks. So, masks obviously work because it's science, and we should live and die by what the CDC tells us. Oh, except for the fact that the CDC changes its mind about as frequently as someone changes their underwear. And but you should definitely live and die by these government scientists because they're the only ones who know anything at all.
That is so frustrating to me. Seriously. As a person that's in the music industry that hasn't been able to do what he does in tour for we're going over half a year, right? Mm-hmm. And to see folks, more so the CDC, be allowed to contradict themselves on a different day. And anybody that questions them is automatically wrong. I want people, we had a segment talking about the religious cling to these institutions. That's exactly that. It's like, oh, well, it's science. They just stumbled across some new information. And it's okay. Yet you could have been saying the same thing. There could have been a doctor that didn't work for the government that was also saying the same thing. And they were wrong, right? You have to trust, and we have to control the entire country, right? Based upon what it is that they say. That is so frustrating to me as a person, and along with other people who thankfully I have other things that I'm involved in. So I'm virtually fine. Most people aren't. I believe they had reported with like 60% of small businesses that had, they're
not coming back.
They're not coming back.
Up to 80% of restaurants by February 2021 will either permanently be shuttered or will have like reduced, I think with chains will reduce capacity by 30 to 40%, even chains, like meaning even if the chain itself doesn't go out of business, like up to 30 to 40% of a business's locations will have to close because they're going to run out of, it's because everyone keeps going, well, it's not that bad now. They're on government money. People don't realize that a lot of businesses are running on loans, like on extensively. And I don't think American public knows how extensively the economy is still running on government handouts right now. And I know people, a lot of business owners who, even like yourself, who would be out there who are going, if you don't have a lot of extra outlets of money and you're not fortunate to have that, which is most Americans have a single form of income, and you go, they're going, I have until November, I have until December, I have enough cash flow till January. And if we don't completely open back up and bounce back, we're going to go into a massive depression. And the CDC is, I think what people don't realize is from being someone who has a background in science, is that scientists are, again, they're not pastors. They don't make authoritative claims. They are just people who work in conjunction with teams and financing to try to understand things using the scientific method in very advanced techniques now, thank God for the way we've developed. However, people don't realize that an organization like the CDC is also filled with bureaucrats. It's also filled with scientists who have not been practicing the actual field science or laboratory science for sometimes decades, who are more influenced by who's appointed them than by what's really good for the American people. And I'll point it out as this. Science is largely infected with partisanship like anybody else or anything else is in our country. And I've seen this firsthand where depending on who's financing you, depending on who's giving you money, I have watched people compromise on their religion, on their personal beliefs, even on ultimately what they want to accomplish because they need to make money and they need a job. And so when the director or somebody was appointed by the Obama administration and they're there for life or for a tenure or they're even brought in through nepotism, and then you go, oh yeah, well, they're a scientist. No, just because they have a doctorate, in their past or they have a doctor by their name or whatever they have, doesn't mean that they actually are looking out for the interest of people because scientists often are not the ones that are the mouthpieces.
Yeah. All right. We've got more to come. Stay tuned. I think I'm going to trust the doctors on the front lines who are actually seeing the patient. All right. Before we go, don't forget, you can find Mr. Elijah Shaffer. Look, I called you Mr. too.
Thank you.
Gentleman Elijah Shaffer. Yeah, you do.
I actually, for the first time, took a shower before I came here.
Oh
I did get in late yesterday. I almost didn't actually for you. I almost came in a hat today.
I got to finish the show. Okay. But thank you for dressing up for me. You look wonderful. Elijah Shaffer, Slightly Offensive on BlazeTV. You can also find his YouTube channel, Slightly Offensive with Elijah Shaffer. Also, don't forget Young Rippa 59 over here. You can find him on YouTube as well. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to his channel. You can find me on YouTube, by the way, not just on BlazeTV, but also on Sarah Gonzalez Unfiltered.
Wait, let me plug you.
Please.
You should also subscribe to Sarah Gonzalez Unfiltered. She's an incredible host. Mrs. Sarah Gonzalez, incredible.
Thank you. I mean, my husband's last name is not Gonzalez. That's my name.
I know, isn't that your alias?
No, it's my actual maiden name. People think I make it up.
But I
your alias.
Yes.
Like, no, that's my real last name, man.
I thought that was